Good morning to all of my friends down under. My name is Jason Miller, Chief Evangelist and Principal Consultant here at Creatio. I'm excited that you were able to join me today for a conversation which really focuses on perception versus reality. And from concept to reality, it's really about how firms are learning how to use CRM and workflow automation tools along with no code to really drive better customer engagement. Now, throughout this webinar today, if you have questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. We'll make sure that we get them answered towards the end. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, consumer demand in the financial service world continues to grow. Customers expect more and more from our financial service organizations every single day. Matter of fact, according to several McKinsey reports, customers' expectation of personalization within their banking and financial service organization continues to grow. 76% of those consumers get frustrated when they don't receive that personalization. Matter of fact, consumers consider to use this as a measure for trust within their financial service organization. They believe that if you can't personalize something, then obviously you don't understand it. This is a key driver in why so many organizations continue to struggle with relationships with their customers. Now, the better part of this is that 93% of organizations do perceive customer experience as either the primary or one of the partially differentiating factors when it comes to engaging with their customers. This means that we're at least thinking about this and that we understand how important this is. Now, as we think about how this impacts different aspects of the business, we know one thing, and one thing's for sure, that digitalization of some of these processes helps us better engage with our customers. Now, if we think about traditionally how we ran a lot of financial service organizations, we thought about this in a very linear fashion. It was a very traditional set of processes, very scripted interactions. Typically, these were in person and they were very manual. Well, the beauty of technology, it allows us to digitize these things. Everything from introduction and onboarding and product selection and customer service now have the ability to be automated, bringing better customer support, better customer care, and better customer engagement. These are the hallmarks of financial service organizations that truly have the ability to better engage with their organization and with their customers. Now, what's interesting in this is there's this very nice dichotomy, and it's a combination of where we are as an organization from a digital readiness standpoint and where we are from a people standpoint. Now, from a digital readiness standpoint, there's all sorts of aspects that go into this. There's the ability to have the right technical stack. There's the ability to define the approach and the ability to define how we want to engage, where we want to engage, in what manner we want to engage with our customers. But there's also the people and person pieces behind this. It's how do we best set up our organizational employees to deliver these services. So this covers everything from organizational training around things like accountability and empathy and better customer experience. But it also has to focus around driving transparent and consistent engagement. And this just comes down to a cultural mindset. Now, all of these things work together to drive a foundation of trust with our customers. If any one of these areas is lacking, it ultimately will lead to poor customer engagement. Today, we're going to talk about how we can use no-code tools, CRM, workflow automation, and no-code to better engage with these customers. Now, a lot of organizations say that they're struggling. They just can't make this work because they're facing roadblocks in every single aspect of business they're doing, whether it's outdated core systems, it's very complex infrastructure, or maybe even limited integration readiness for their systems they do have in place. It's also dependency that they've had to outsource so many things. They don't have the skill set. They don't have the knowledge readily available internally to be able to do this work. It's also extremely beneficial for organizations to be able to do this in a timely and efficient manner. But the problem is there's a high cost to introduce change. There's friction there, and we want to try to help reduce this friction to be more successful in everything that we do. Also, teams are not comfortable with an agile or iterative approach. We've been brainwashed for so many years that technology has forced us into delivering in waterfall delivery methodology. That's because technology put us in that situation. We're going to talk about here in just a minute how things have changed over time and we're no longer handcuffed or bound by technology. And then ultimately, it's the lack of technical resources. You and I, as someone that is a business operator, often we think about, well, if I could just do X or I could just do Y, but we're unable to do that because of the complexity that IT systems bring. So let's talk about how we can break some of these roadblocks down, how we can unbind ourselves and unbind our organization to drive efficiency and effective day to day operations. All right. So let's take a quick history lesson. Over the last 30, 40 years, all of us have worked with various IT systems. And the problem is we got so used to doing it the old way that we struggle to even sometimes understand or comprehend the new way. So if we think about it, all of our businesses were run off of usually single mainframe. In the 90s, everything was in one place. It was beautiful because everything was right there at our fingertips. The problem was every time we wanted to change something or we needed to change, it took forever. You know, 6 to 8 months in documenting requirements, then another 12 months to build and test. By the time we were able to actually deploy changes within our IT organization, the business requirements had completely changed. Thus, we were never able to keep up with the technology, was never able to keep up with the change in business demand. Well, that changed in the early 2000s. We went from this big monolithic architecture to cloud software, right? And many of you work on different cloud technologies every single day, whether you realize it or not. The beauty of this is these kind of commercial off the shelf systems allowed that 80-20 rule to really come into play. 80% of everything that we did was kind of out of the box. It was that 20% that we needed to customize around our organization. Now, this allowed us to move much faster. Thus, we were able to move from waterfall delivery methodology to agile delivery methodology when we moved to cloud. Well, the best news is technology has continued to improve and advance. And today we're in the next era, this new era of enterprise software development, which is using no-code tools and AI to really move even faster. In fact, we're talking about no longer even delivering in sprints of 2 and 4 weeks using agile delivery methodology. We're talking about being able to roll out changes to production in hours and days, not weeks and months. Now, all of this has really come at the right time because the demand for automation is growing. Delivery capacity is limited. We talk about this, right? We talk about this all the time. It's like, I don't have enough time, people, money to be able to throw at problems to get things solved. The reason for that is there's about 25 million developers in the world. Now, this is, growing at a very slow, maybe 4 or 5% every year. And it represents less than 1% of the world's population can actually do the heavy lifting of IT coding. Now, according to McKinsey and Forrester and Gartner and a few others, there's about 500 million applications that need to be built, refactored, ripped, and replaced over the next few years. This presents a simple math problem. It just does not add up. This is why we continue to struggle to get things done from an IT perspective. There's just not enough time, people, or money to be able to deal with this. Thus, the beauty of no-code technology is we're able to empower the 1.7 billion knowledge workers, folks like you and I that know the business, that understand the data, we understand the process and workflow. We can help unshackle our organization to be able to move things forward. This is the power of no-code technology. And ultimately, as we talk through today, think about how you, as a business operator, understand all of your data, understand your business processes. And ultimately, you probably understand how you would like to engage with your customers better than your IT counterparts. This is the power of no-code CRM, and workflow automation. So let's talk a little bit about Creatio. Now, Creatio is a no-code application development platform that's built industry-leading CRM on top of it. Now, we deliver the freedom to own your own automation. What does this mean? It means that using our platform, you have the ability to automate any number of workflows related to CRM, customer engagement, all with the power of no-code. Now, our foundational piece of Creatio Studio is the no-code platform. But on top of that, we have built industry-leading CRM for sales, service, and marketing. We've also built industry-specific workflows. We have a dedicated financial service product that runs a lot of these customer journeys that you're managing manually today. We also have a series of connectors and extensions, whether this is connection to your core banking system, loan origination system, wealth, and more. It allows you to pull all of that information in to a single dashboard, a single view, to truly understand how you're engaging your customers, where you're engaging with them, and how to best move forward with all of those customer engagements. Now, to give you an example, this is maybe a contact record, right? So it's a customer record that shows you all the things about that customer. Now, I don't need you to memorize what's on the screen because that's not important. This is all configurable. The most important thing to understand is that everything you see on the screen right here was all configured and didn't use a single line of code. What does this mean? It means that someone that has business knowledge can drag and drop new elements onto these screens, new visualizations, graph charts, etc., without having to write a single line of code. This is what no code tools and no code CRM bring to you. Now, organizations ask all the time, why would I want to do something like this versus just work in my core or maybe even work into one of the CRMs that sits on top of the core? And the ultimate answer is that's only a portion of your business. It only provides you a small view, right? It's only meant to look into the core. You're missing out on all the other aspects. How are you engaging with them from a loan standpoint? Maybe you've got silos from commercial and retail banking. All of these things you can pull together into a single view to truly understand your customer engagement. Now, if we think about this, this can be applied to many areas of your business. Matter of fact, this is kind of a value chain of different areas where Creatio's financial service platform can help you drive efficient and effective process automation. If we look at this, it's every aspect of your business, whether it's in marketing, sales, maybe front office, lending, underwriting, customer experience, compliance and audit, and even your own internal corporate services. One of the things that I think organizations fail to realize, and we talked earlier about alignment with people, is you can use workflow automation tools to manage your own employees. Think about the different systems that you use today. How are you onboarding? How are you training? How are you certifying your employees? All of this goes in to unlocking the digital transformation capability within your organization. All of these areas can and should be automated using no-code platforms to be able to drive more efficient day-to-day operations. Now, when we think about this, let's talk a little bit about the CRM aspect. CRM has three major components. Let's talk about marketing automation first. This is the thing that you're going to be thinking about for customer acquisition, right? Developing a full 360-degree view of that customer from the time that you first make contact with them all the way through your entire life cycle with them. How do you drive that conversion? How do you better push your message out to them, right? Whether it's using digital, omni-channel capability, maybe it's email, maybe you're going to run events, drive community engagement. All of these things can be done with Creatio's marketing solution. But that's just a third of the CRM pillar. Sales is another area, right? We think about Salesforce automation. Again, it's down to how do I manage all of my potential business coming in? This is extremely applicable in many areas where you're trying to grow, where you're trying to not just acquire new deposit acquisition, but expand your portfolio, drive wallet share, or even householding with your existing customers. How can you manage all of these things, provide next best offer, provide next best action with your either existing clients or your potential clients to be able to grow? Now, we talk to organizations all the time. This is usually the number one area that they want to focus on. How do I drive wallet share and increase deposit rates? This is exactly what Creatio Sales Force Automation tool and a Creatio Sales for our financial services organization is focused on. And it allows you to take all of the information that you're pulling in from these other systems, apply that, look at your product set that the customer already has, as well as the new product set, and apply them and be able to make knowledgeable and informed recommendations to your customers. And then customer service. I think everybody knows that customer churn is a real thing. Unless we incentivize them and give them a reason to stay with us, that they can easily jump to another financial service organization or maybe even a neobank. While engaging them in meaningful ways when there's issues, this is what customer service is all about. So it's understanding everything that's going on, having all of the information readily available at your customer service agent's fingertips, whether that's managing cases, routing them efficiently, making sure that you get those first time closure rates for any instance that comes up. This is what Creatio Service does. Now, keep in mind, all three of these tools, sales, service, and marketing all sit on top of the workflow automation tool. This is Studio Creatio. Think of it like Lego blocks. If Studio is the foundation, you can start building these blocks on top. This is what gives you the idea and the capability to drive workflow automation, building composable elements on top of each other to drive better engagement. This is also the same tool that allows you to drive workflow automation. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But think about this. When we're talking about end-to-end customer journeys, not only do we have these long processes, we've also got a lot of sub-processes that run in the background, right? Everything from verification and AML checks to understanding how to take a paper form, digitize it, and then run it through a process. Now, these things are getting easier and easier every day because we're integrating with solutions, we're governing these things, but we're also engaging with AI and ML technologies. We're going to talk a little bit more about Creatio's composite AI approach here in just a second. But hopefully this is resonating with you. It's helping you understand that you can unblock some of these challenges that your financial service organization may be facing today. Now, let's talk a little bit more about how to automate processes. Now, our tools in the back end, and this is going to look, you may even say simple. Well, that's because it's meant to be. If you've ever used Visio or Lucidchart or some other BPMN process mapping tool, that's exactly what Studio Creatio is, with one exception. When you think about BPMN in those other tools, you're mapping out processes. Studio Creatio gives you the ability to manage all of these structured and even unstructured processes and drive routine, consistent engagement by automating them. Now, if you look at this, I always love to point out the gold diamonds on the screen. This is what is, instead of coding, this is a visual representation of an if-then statement. If yes, go right. If no, go left. This is how we think about executing processes within Studio Creatio. And again, that's the major difference between Visio or between Lucidchart and Studio Creatio's process automation tool. We're actually executing here. So if you can draw a business process, you can map it out. You can build executable using the no-code tools. Now, these are the kind of the sub-processes, and there can be all sorts of these that run within your organization. Any process that you're manually doing today can be digitized, can be automated. You can collect information, have humans, not just systems, do these automation steps. This is what will really drive industry-leading process automation within your organization. Now, Creatio also knows that the world of AI is exploding. Now, when we think about AI inside of Creatio's no-code toolset, we think of it in two ways. Pulling together traditional AI, these are your machine learning and predictive analytics tools, as well as generative AI using Creatio Copilot. This synergy of AI and no-code tools really is a powerful tool that allows you to unlock all sorts of things that we could never previously do. This is what we think about when we think about how we can empower users of the systems to become more efficient and more effective in everything that they do. Now, I know you're hearing me talk, and I've been going for about 25 minutes now about all of these great things, but we are just one tool in the shed. Now, I understand you have a lot of tools already available to you, but let's think about this in a couple of different aspects. First, let's think of this from how do we empower what are called citizen developers. Here at Creatio, we call them no-code creators. How are we helping those business users, those 1.7 billion knowledge workers, work their magic? Well, I can talk about it all day, and there's others that can too. But what do the analysts say? Well, Forrester says Creatio is the only leader in empowering these 1.7 billion knowledge workers, ahead of Microsoft and other technologies out there. Why? Because we have enterprise grade tool. This is everything from not only the tool set to empower users and empower these knowledge workers, but also around governance. For anyone who's on this call or listening to this webinar today that's in the IT group, what are we talking about? We're talking about empowering the business to build, manage, and maintain portions of their applications without breaking governance structure, giving you the tools to track and monitor all these things. This is truly why Creatio is the only enterprise grade no-code tool set in the world. But how does this apply in all aspects of the business? Well, you can see Forrester and Gardner think very highly of us. Now, we're always typically referred to as maybe the number three CRM in the world, and that's perfect. I don't want to be the number one right now. But, if we think about where Salesforce and Microsoft have come over the years, they've built technology that's now legacy, right? Many of you have probably looked or even currently using many of these technologies. Think about how long it took to roll these out. Think about how cumbersome and how difficult it is to make changes to these systems. This is why adoption of no-code technology, and specifically Creatio, is the number one thing that's driving financial service organizations forward today. And we're going to talk about some case studies here in just a few minutes. But I think that this is the proof of why organizations are moving forward. Technology has evolved. Your back end systems to drive your business need to evolve with them. And obviously, we know that just staying the status quo often is a challenge for organizations. Think about where you're at in that journey today. Have you had a system in place for many years? Are you struggling to automate your processes? Don't have the full visibility of your customers that you feel like you need? Don't have the ability to engage with them in the manner that you want? These are the things that we typically talk about when we say legacy technology, specifically referring to some of the legacy Salesforce and Microsoft and even other systems that are out there. Now, Ratio, we're always focusing on helping to deliver strong business outcomes. So what does this mean? It means we are focused on making you, folks that are listening to this webinar right now, more impactful in how you're dealing with your customers, driving higher customer satisfaction, increasing customer acquisition, focusing on driving better retention. We talked about churn, right? Neobanks are stripping folks away from organizations all the time, driving a faster time to market. This means reducing dependency on external providers and empowering you, the business operators. It also means that we're driving operational excellence. I talked about our governance tools. So keeping the IT governance, compliance, and all of our external reporting requirements in place. It also means that we're increasing the employee productivity. We're doing this by giving them more tools readily available in their fingertips in one place. No more skip jumping from system to system to system to try to figure out an answer. Now, it's interesting because all of these things are definitely 100% kind of aligned to when we think about our financial service tool, right? Our financial service tool was built from the foundations of CRM that were non-financial service. Then we sat down, we started talking with different banks and financial service organizations about how can we do better? How can we empower you more? And what was great was we heard from banks and from credit unions and our partners about how we can ultimately tailor our product to be specific for banks and financial service organizations. Now, there's some unique benefits in all of these areas. Now, the first one is unique business benefit. Now, by using no-code technology and Creatio financial service products allow you to elevate customer experience, improve your bank and credit union staff productivity and efficiency, drive better decisions based on the information that's readily available for you, drive streamlined and simplified business processes, and accelerate your time to market. And from a technology standpoint, it's even more clear. We have the ability to empower the folks that we have today, no longer needing the ability to hire a full army of developers or system admins. We can streamline it. As a matter of fact, we've got some financial service organizations here in the United States that we've got, 2,500-ish users on the system. The system is being maintained by 2.5 FTE, 2 admins, and a half-time architect. Now, this is important to understand because we're not expanding the use of it because they've already kind of done that. But once it's up and running, kind of the day-to-day care and feeding is much easier. Try that with a Salesforce or a Microsoft implementation. It just doesn't happen. This allows you to have a better partnership also between IT and the business, allowing IT to focus on the really important things: data quality, data governance, data stewardship, integration strategy with your different systems, but allowing the business to focus on important things like user experience, business process flow, so that as business needs change, you have the ability to quickly drive those changes out from a systemic standpoint, which means that's lowering your cost of change and allowing you to drive quick time to market. Now, it also is this opportunity to repurpose existing staff and skill sets, drive innovation, right? A lot of these things that we think about, people want to learn. People want to become better at what they do every single day. Now, Creatio gives you the ability to do that. You don't need special skills to be effective with Creatio. Now, this is for a wide variety of reasons, and I'm not going to cover all of them today, but just think about it. If you had a tool that was in your hand, that was simple, easy to use, brought value to you in your day to day operation, and gave you all of the pieces that you needed in one place, wouldn't that become a driver to make you want to use the system? Oftentimes, that's one of the things that we hear from organizations all the time is that user adoption is low. So, how can we make our organizational employees feel like they want to use the technology? And typically, that just comes down to they need to feel that it has value. And then self sufficiency, the freedom to own your own automation. We've talked about this a little bit earlier. We want to empower you, whether you're on the IT side, the business side, doesn't matter. Manage this yourself. You don't need to constantly go to market to have even the simplest changes done. This is the power that Creatio brings to the market. Now, I've been talking for about 30 minutes, and there's all sorts of different things that this means for you in the business. Now, you can take my word for it, or you can also think about how we are impacting customers all around the world today. Now, we have all sorts of different financial service customers from insurance, banking, mutuals, or credit unions, as we call them in the States. But we do this all over the world. We've even got wealth management companies that use Creatio to drive better engagement with their customers. Matter of fact, when I say all around the world, I truly mean all around the world. Creatio is a global organization. We are headquartered out of Boston, Massachusetts, but we've got offices all around the world, including down under in Sydney. What's so interesting about this is all these different organizations, you'll see that these are organizations that are maybe as small as a few hundred million AUM, all the way up to organizations like OTP Bank in Europe, where they are literally 210 billion in assets under management. All of these different organizations have the same needs. How do I better interact with my customers? How do I drive better engagement? And Creatio allows them to do this. Now, each of them has a slightly unique, different business process. That's great because Creatio allows you to configure those different changes for your different pieces of your organization without a lot of code. Now, let's look at a couple of success stories. VRD Group out of Europe. This is a very interesting where it's the third largest bank in Romania, and they've got about 12 billion in assets under management. Now, what's interesting is they got 7,500 employees in more than 750 different locations all around Romania. Now, I'm not showing you this because it's a Romanian bank. I'm showing you this because it's a very good example of how they were able to use customer 360 view to really start to automate that complete customer journey. It allowed them to understand where they had gaps, where there were holes with their existing customers, and really start to prospect into that and be able to automate a lot of those processes to drive growth. This is really cool because it allowed them to provide better consultation services. It allowed them to provide better reporting and analytics. But ultimately, what's most important is it allowed them to drive better customer engagement. Now, VRD is just one example. BNP Paribas, this was an example out of Poland. So this branch of BNP Paribas out of Poland, they use Creatio in a very similar fashion. Be trying to unify what was very much scattered, pulling things together, giving them the ability to manage customer engagements from a customer service standpoint. What's so interesting about this is they were able to offload a lot of non-value add tasks and activities and really focus on what's important, driving omni-channel communication, synchronizing with the customer and making sure that they solved the problems when they arose. They were also able to use our portal solution to drive self-service, thus minimizing, not eliminating, but minimizing the amount of calls and service requests that were coming in. Now, these are a couple of examples where we're talking about full 360-degree engagement with customers, but it's also kind of two great examples of process automation. Now, these are good. Both of these use our pre-built financial service tool. But the next use case I'm going to talk about did not. Bank of GYT started off with just our studio product. And they didn't start off saying, I wanted a CRM. They didn't start off talking about, I want to, drive every aspect of my business. They started off and said, I want to automate processes. So they took just our foundational tool, which was Studio, and they started building. And they're like, okay, great. Now that I'm starting to build all these different things, then they started to realize the power of the technology. And over a 2 year period, they quickly went from 50 users to 200 users to 3,000, almost 3,000, like 2,800 or something now. Um, but what was interesting was they just took the no-code tools and started building. Now, after they got to a certain point, they're like, wow, I can build a lot of things with your tool set. What do you have that can accelerate my time to market? We were able to deploy the financial service product on top of what they had already built, taking all of their work that they had done from a process automation standpoint and then layering the full 360-degree journey view all the way around it. This allowed them to drive so much efficiency. Matter of fact, there's Eduardo, who's one of the senior vice presidents down there, has a quote that we have on the other slide that talks about how they felt like they had as much as a 25% efficiency gain in their branch operations because they simply didn't have to go from system to system to system. They were able to consolidate that view all in one place to drive better customer engagement. Now, all of these, continue to build upon each other, but I've given you three kind of uniquely discrete examples of how different aspects of the business kind of came to be. Now, the final one that I'm going to show you here is OTP Bank. OTP Bank has thousands of users across 11 countries. Now they've got 1,500 branches, and at last check, I think they were like 210 billion in assets under management or something like that. I know it's over 200. That's an impressive number. Now I'm sure not all of you on this call are of that size, but the needs are the same. Now, regardless of how big your organization gets, Creatio is a platform that allows you to scale and grow. And OTP Bank started in just one area, right? We started within Romania, and then we just continued to grow into other aspects across different countries. Now, they were truly focused on running absolutely every aspect of their business using Creatio and their no-code tool, being able to unify their banking products and their service catalog in one place. As you can imagine, running across multiple regions or multiple countries for OTP standpoint, a lot of times they're very different. And I'm sure you have similar problems as well. They were able to automate their entire customer onboarding workflow, managing the end-to-end KYC and all of the approval management pieces that are, even country specific, right? In Europe, yes, you have to comply with GDPR and everything like that. But each country sometimes has different approval and KYC requirements that they had to go through. And they were able to easily automate those and meet all of their governance requirements. They were also able to take their sales processes and their lending processes and integrate them very easily with their online banking tools, with their mobile platform, and their core systems to be able to run all of these processes seamlessly, being able to have visibility across the entire network of applications in one place. This is what allowed them to drive so much automation and have a better view of their customers. Now, I just recently left Croatia a couple of days ago, and OTP Bank in Croatia is one of those organizations that started off as just a small little incubator of this. And the next thing you know, they just continued to grow and grow and grow. And today they have operations in Hungary and Montenegro and Croatia, Bulgaria, Ukraine, Slovenia, Serbia, and others, where they continue to grow with the use of Creatio. Now, some of you may have never heard of Creatio. Well, let me fill you in on a secret. We're one of the best kept secrets in the world. We actually recently got a $200 million investment and had a valuation of $1.2 billion. What does that mean? It means that we're officially unicorn status. Now, the media was all over this, and there's literally, I think there's about 100 and some odd, like 120 some odd different publications that covered this when this went out here just a couple of weeks ago. Now, this is cool. This is amazing, but it is just one place within our overall journey as an organization. But it is truly a testament to the work that teams have done to help organizations become successful. We are replacing Salesforce in so many organizations right now, financial services and non-financial service organizations. We have become that best alternative that brings more value, that allows more freedom, and brings you modern digital technology versus legacy technology of the past. Now, all of this is really cool. And part of what I'm doing here today with you is helping you learn. We evangelize the world of CRM and our no code markets every single day. Part of my job to help organizations and people learn more about Creatio. Now we do this all over the world. Matter of fact, I'm kind of in a worldwide trip right now where we've been doing no code days all around the world. Now, when I talk about no code days all around the world, that means yes, you too, Sydney. We are on our way down under. Matter of fact, coming up just in a few days, in the middle of August, August 20th, we will be at the Swiss Hotel in Sydney. This is your chance to come in person, meet with me, meet with our channel partners, meet with our CEO, Kevin Costareva, where we're going to be talking about the power of no code, CRM, and workflow automation in a condensed one-day event. So if you have the ability to join us, get out your phone right now, click on that QR code that's on the screen, fill out the registration form, and I look forward to meeting you and other folks from your organization as well at our one-day event. Now, this is fairly easy to get to, right in the downtown area. So we ask that you please come join us. These webinars are great, but they don't replace human-to-human interaction. This is what we're focused on. Now, I want to thank you for the time and effort that you've given to me today. I will open the floor for questions. We've got just a couple of minutes left here, but if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. All right, I do have one question that's come in. Now, if we think about automating processes across different verticals, so I'm assuming this means retail and this means commercial, do they have to be the same? No, they don't. With Creatio's tools, you have the ability to configure those minute differences, right? Obviously, commercial lending and retail lending, very different pieces. Typically, what we've seen organizations all over the world handle these problems a little bit differently. If we think about the process flow, though, there's still the basics of we have a input, request, review, approval, underwriting. All of those things can be automated. The beauty of it is you can have them both sitting side by side in Creatio and running different workflow streams. So as the loan type is identified as commercial, it will run down the commercial stream. If it's identified as a retail, then it'll run down the retail stream. All of these have the ability to be kind of uniquely configured, not coded, using the no-code tools that I talked about a little bit earlier. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat. Does anybody want to raise their hand in a verbal question? Thank you, Ben, for the compliment. Adaptable processes. Ben, can you make a little more clarity there? If you're talking about the ability to change processes, is that what you're talking about? And feel free to come off mute. We can go ahead and take this verbally if you want, Ben.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
I'm interested in the AI is obviously very powerful for big data sets. I find it interesting that Creatio being a leader in this space of not only the business process and the data, and now also AI and bringing that together where there's an inherent strength in combining those. I'm interested to understand where the AI does play a part, not just in, say, like a chatbot providing that automated interaction, but in fact, back to the process where your inherent strengths of having a visual map of the way the process is run can in fact be improved over time as well.
You know, it's a great question, Ben, and there's a couple of ways to think about this. So you've absolutely hit the nail on the head that AI can play in process design and process automation. What's unique about what Creatio does is when I talked about it earlier, we've exposed AI in every area of our application. So we're going to cover a little bit more at the No Code Day, but I'll give you kind of a high level overview. AI tools that we have within Creatio can do a few things. One, it can help you build processes using natural language. Build me a process that does X, Y, and Z. And with your different prompting, and there's different pieces that play into this. And I think you're all aware that AI can get very complex very quickly. The goal is to give it natural language inputs and allow the system to use what it knows to define a process. Now, this could be any number of things. We'll use the lending approval process as an example. So our financial service tool, we've got a couple of different, we've got our financial service sales and service, and then we have our financial service lending tool that's focused specifically on these types of flows. So we've got pre-built flows, and you could use natural language to either build a flow that's unique for you or to modify our pre-built template. Now, it's going to look at the data sets that you have, and it's always good to take a look at, your traditional model, and you can have those feed in to those, call it natural language prompts as part of the intent queue that's going out to these LLMs. But you also have the ability to use AI to look at, from a traditional standpoint, look at how you're currently processing things to how you're currently managing different stages and different steps. They'll give you insight into those. You also have the ability to track and manage all of the different inputs and outputs. So if you're looking at a process that says right now into my AI model, I'm putting 3 kind of different inputs, should I be putting 4? Should I take it down to 2? These are the things that Copilot can help with. Obviously, it's still an emerging area, and I would say that nobody's got it 100% right. But I think that we're really close to being as good at 100% as you can get. But models are learning all of the time. We use kind of an industry-leading LLM on our back end, but we're also, by the end of this year, going to allow organizations to bring their own LLMs. So the world of generative AI continues to grow. If you talk to the pundits that are out in the Gartners, Forresters, and other like Nucleuses of the world, they'll tell you that we're only scratching the surface, and I agree with that. Nobody knows how far this is going to go and how much efficiency it can really drive. We're already, we announced this earlier this year, and we're already seeing organizations that are cutting time to market by using AI to develop these workflows, develop these processes, develop these applications. We're seeing, efficiency gains 15, 20, 25% or more, depending on the area. And then what we're starting to see is in customer engagement, you're starting to see those customer feedbacks, right? The NPS scores are going up because you're able to drive better customer engagements. So it's a really good question. And literally, you can spin on these types of things around a drain for hours and hours and hours trying to figure out the right answer. The beauty of it is it's adaptive. We have the ability, to your point, you actually put that in your question, adaptable. With the tools that we bring, if it changes in 6 months, you can easily change it. If it needs to stabilize over 12 months, you can do that too. But you always have the ability to look at where you're at today and understand what the business impacts are coming in and what adaptive changes, to your point, you need to make to be able to keep up with the change in business demand. I'll give you one example really quick. When the pandemic hit, I talked about OTP Bank earlier. When the pandemic hit, it threw all of our businesses for a loop, right? They were able to use the no-code technology, and they went from what used to be completely manual in-person process, like many banks are around the world for loans. They went to a fully online digitized process in 6 weeks. They were 8 weeks ahead of their closest competitor to being able to do that. That's the time to market that Creatio and no-code tools can help bring. And they had to invent the whole thing from scratch. It helped because they already had the packages and everything in place to be able to do it. But think about that, to build out all of those digital processes in just that short period of time, it's pretty impressive. It was a true testament to them adopting that framework and truly buying into the power of no code. Hopefully that answered your question. Thanks, Ben. All right. Any other questions that anybody'd like to ask? I know we're kind of up against our 45-minute slot here, but I'll run over if you need me to. All right. Doesn't look like I've got any more. But again, I want to personally invite you. Please come to Sydney. I'd love to meet you. And again, it's a one-day event, August 20th. We'll be doing our Jakarta event on the 15th, and then I'm flying over on the 16th. So I'll be in town for a few days. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Shoot me an email, j.miller@creatio.com. But please click on that registration link. Let me throw it back up on the screen just one more time here. And let me share my screen one more time. So in case you missed it the first time, please get registered. Would love to see you at our No Code Day event in Sydney. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much for joining this webinar. And if you're watching this webinar later, please make sure that you listen fully through the entire thing. A lot of great information that we covered today, but also check out more information at www.creatio.com/banking, or for all of our process automation, just go to www.creatio.com, and there's all sorts of great links there. Thank you very much for joining us today. We'll see you soon.